Welcome guys back to the channel. Behind me you can see a nice and beautiful CX5 which is already disassembled, and I'll show you what we found and what's wrong with it. And as you can see from the title, it's not a happy story, because like the owner they bought it, and very shortly after they bought it, I believe on the drive back home already the problems came. I'll try to edit a picture what she sent to me, like what was the warning lights on the dash. I also want to mention that basically the warning lights on the dashboard, they don't exactly tell us what is wrong with the car. So when you guys send me a picture of like fault codes, and if you just send the warning lights on the dashboard, I cannot exactly tell what is wrong with the car. I may have a guess, but always I need, if you have already get it scanned, the fault codes, because that tells me actually what is going on with the engine, with the car. But enough of talking, let me switch the camera and show you the condition of this engine, of this car, and then tell you a little bit more about it, what I've done prior disassembling the car, and how I got to these conclusions, that what is wrong with the car actually. So the valve cover is removed, the intake manifold is removed, and the oil pan is removed as well. Already the parts, the intake parts are cleaned, so that they are just waiting for the assembly, but carbon cleaning still needs to be done. But basically first I just show you the problems. As you can see, injector washer number 3 and 4 were blowing out. The camshaft is also worn, you can see that here. So basically there is a gap. I can insert my fingernail or fingertip in there. That's not supposed to be like that. That needs replacement. Here is the carbon buildup. I'll talk about that a bit later, but it was done, so I can confirm that was carried out. And let me lift the car up and show you it from underneath. Here is the car up in the air, and have a look at the strainer. It is blocked, but even if I cut it open further, it will be more blocked. Like basically the carbon buildup will be here as well. When we do these kind of jobs, because the strainer is blocked and it causes the oil pressure to be low, we always check the bearings, and very likely we replace them. So basically those bearings, the connecting rod bearings, we replace them. Have a look at the valve cover, like that buildup, what's on the bottom of it, and also have a look at the injectors. So these two were stuck, and if you take a closer look, that injector, the other one which is a bit oily, has the washer on the nozzle, and the other two, they don't. That means they are still inside the injector hole. Make sure if you guys do this job and the injectors were stuck, very likely the washer is still down the hole, so you need to remove it. Otherwise the engine will not be running properly. So now let me switch the camera and talk a little bit about the car and what happened to it. And now a little bit of a story time. So basically how it all started, the owner reached out to me, and she said, she sent me first that the warning messages she got on the dashboard, and she told the story that they bought a car, I believe like 2 weeks ago, and then the seller, they ghosted them. He didn't answer or didn't reply to their messages anymore. So she got herself booked in for carbon cleaning, because she's been to 2 different local garages to her, and they all told her to get the carbon cleaning done, but they said they couldn't do it for whatever reason. I don't know that. So she reached out to me, she got booked in, she came. We were prepared to get it done in a day, because she's a bit further away from us, I believe like 2 hours of driving from us. So we wanted to get it done same day. She brought the car, I jumped in, ran the diagnostics, scanned it. She had fault code for P0101. 2 things about that. I mean, it can be caused by 2 things. One is the carbon buildup, and the other is the worn exhaust camshaft. So let's say even if we do the carbon cleaning, it may not solve that problem. It can still come back. That was the first thing that bothered me a little bit, or my concern. However, when I scanned it further, I noticed that the engine was like on a colder side, so I believe around below 70 degrees of engine oil temperature, and the oil pressure was like very low, around 120 kPa. Then I revved it, got it up to temperature, the oil pressure was low, and then so she was still waiting in the office. Then I went to her and explained her what we found basically and what is wrong with the car. She also brought like a lot of like paperwork, because guys, this car has 74,000 miles on the clock or so. The reason they bought it because of the low mileage, and it was serviced in a Mazda dealership. Two things: low mileage doesn't always or doesn't necessarily mean the car is in good working condition. I mean, I get you guys why you think you are getting like a good deal on it if it has a low miles, because obviously the car was used less. However, it doesn't mean it has no problems. And other thing, also the dealership, I also noticed that here in the UK, guys, you very likely buy a car which has the service book stamped, and if it is serviced by the dealer, the main dealer, that means or gives the car a value. Unfortunately, that's not always the case, that it was done properly, or the service has been carried out, and let me tell you why. So for example, not every dealership is the same. Maybe the guys who work there, they don't like their job, they are not passionate, and they don't do it properly. Maybe they are rushed because of the performance targets they need to meet, so they skip something. I know that because Dan used to work in a Volkswagen dealership and he told me stories. So that is another thing that can happen. And the fun fact, I own 7 cars. Out of those, 6 are over 100,000 miles and only 1 is below 100,000 miles. And to be honest, I can't care less about the mileage. Obviously it's a bonus if it has lower mileage, but I never look at the mileage. So how I buy cars, I always check the car out and also check the owner out. So I want to know more about the owner than about the car, basically about his character. So once I met him, I know what kind of person he is, and based on my assumptions, what kind of person he is, I can imagine how he took care of the car, of his car. So I always look at the owner first, and then obviously check out the car if it has any problems. But used cars will have some kind of problems. So now back to this car, what's going to happen to it. We're going to replace the exhaust camshaft, the injector washers. We're going to get the exhaust pressure sensor pipe cleaned, because what happened, they replaced the sensor, but the pipe is not clean. I could see that from the live data. So basically when I revved it, the numbers like didn't go up quickly or rapidly, and when they were already up, they didn't climb back rapidly. So I know the pipe is blocked. Also, whoever done the job, I'm not sure if that was a dealership, they didn't do it properly, because that pipe, let's have a look. The clamps basically are missing, if you can see. So again, dishonest job. So that's going to be done. Carbon cleaning, that was carried out by the main dealer. I can confirm that the carbon cleaning was done. However, the owner, she had a fault code for the throttle body as well. They replaced the throttle body. I seen a picture of it, because they included a picture how it was before. So basically from underneath the car, and I could see there was a carbon buildup. So they didn't mention that to her, or to the previous owner. Again, a little bit of dishonest job. So carbon cleaning will be done on this one. Oil strainer will be replaced. Drive belt, because that is cracked, going to be replaced, and also rod bearing is going to be replaced. So I'm going to Ben is going to do this one, and another car came, and that I'm going to first check, diagnose it, show you what I find, and very likely I'm going to do that one, because Dan is still absent. And there is another one car which you may have seen already on the channel, and the owner confirmed that he wants the job to get done. So basically carbon cleaning on it, very likely camshaft will be worn, that needs replacement, and the turbo. So the cylinder head is cleaned. The cylinder head cleaning consists of cleaning the top of the engine, not the carbon cleaning, that is different. So as you can see, Ben done a magic job, he cleaned it properly. Now he's going to fit it with new parts. So what the owner is gonna get is new tappets. So 1, 2, 3, 4 tappets definitely gonna be new. And Ben also mentioned that another 3 were worn. So another 3 she's going to get 4 new rocker arms and the brand new exhaust camshaft, all of them OEM Mazda, and the rest will be put back of her parts. And also that pipe still needs a cleaning, so we're going to remove the exhaust pressure sensor with a rubber hose and get that pipe heated and then blow air through it, so make sure it is free flowing of air. And also we're going to put the missing clamps. Ben have fitted the camshafts. So basically the shiny one is a new one, and this one, how clean we get them. Now he's doing the tightening procedure of the camshafts. The pipe is cleaned. That took quite an effort, and also we added the missing clamps. So now once he's done with the tightening procedure, he's going to fit the oil shower, and then he can fit also the valve cover, and then can start the carbon cleaning. Ben has finished with the carbon cleaning. Let's first have a look at the valves. It is immaculately clean. And now let's have a look at the intake ports. Now he wants to show another valve. He's very proud of his work, which he can be. Obviously he's going to touch up the surfaces, put the rest of the parts, so the injectors and all that back together. I'm not sure, but he said he wants to put it back today. It's already 8 o'clock. It would take him maybe 1 or 2 hours to fit it back, everything. And very likely he wants to start it, but I'm not going to be here. I'm going home because it's too late for me now. I got other stuff to do. So I'll be back and show you the results once the car is running. And also I'm going to go through the live data once the car is running and make sure and check everything is fine. And also I want to show you that as well. And here are the conrod bearings of the car, and as you can see, they suffered wear or scoring already. Hopefully you can see it on the camera, but those are scoring marks. So this is not a good sign. Obviously how it can happen, it could have happened either because the low oil pressure. So basically normally when the oil pressure is maintained, the sufficient oil pressure is maintained, there is a like a thin oil film in between the bearing surface and the conrod, or the crankshaft surface, and that's preventing it from touching or making contact metal on metal. That makes the movement, the rotation, like possible to happen. However, if the oil pressure drops, that oil layer gets thinner, and eventually the crankshaft can make contact with the bearing surface, and it is designed that the bearing surface or a bearing is from a softer material than the crankshaft itself, so it causes the wear first on the bearing, if that makes sense. Or the other way it can happen, something can get in between the crankshaft and the bearing surface and make the scoring. However, it's highly unlikely. If you have a look, all 4 are scored in a very similar, if not the same pattern. So very likely that was caused by the oil pressure, and yet the car didn't throw the oil pressure all the time. It threw the oil pressure fault code or the warning light on the dash mostly when the engine got warm. So about, I would say, I'm talking about 90 degrees of engine oil temperatures. That's when it was triggered. So these bearings, the conrod bearings, are very crucial parts to the engine. Also the main bearings, usually the wear occurs here first, but that's not always the case. We've seen, for example, when these ones were quite okay, they had like a normal, regular, minimal wear, yet one of the main bearing was already spun and the car was still running, no knock, nothing, and it was running obviously at higher oil temps. The car had lower oil pressures, and then once we separated the cylinder head from the engine block and the crankshaft kettle, we removed the crankshaft kettle from the block. We could see that the bearing, the main bearing, was seized on the crankshaft. Okay guys, the car is running, and now let's have a look at the live data. Brake booster pressure sensor 7.6, 61, 62. That is okay. What we want to check is the oil pressure at 86 degrees of engine oil temperature. I would say we averaging 160. That was like 120, 130 below, even less. And now let's check at 2000 RPM, 170 average, 175, that's good. Let's have a look at 3500 RPM, 380, 370, that is good as well. I'm going to check when the engine or the solenoid is turned off and the engine gets the full oil pressure. I'm going to check, so basically that means I need to heat up the engine a bit more. Have a look at the exhaust pressure sensor values. So when you press the throttle, that number should raise rapidly and go back rapidly as well, which it does. Before I didn't show that on the camera because I didn't make a video recording of that, but it was very, like, it was stuck and barely was going down. Have a look at differential pressure of exhaust gas values. That is a DPF sensor, very close to zero. It's good. So if that number is below 0.3 at idle, when the regen has happened, or even close to the regen, that's better, that's good. The lower the number, the better. At around 2000, 2500 RPM, we should be getting 2, because the regen just happened recently. I'll talk about that a bit later. Let's have a look. I did reset the values and then I did the relearn. I'm going to talk about that as well for the injectors, guys. Yeah, have a look at the correction values of the injectors. That is very, very close to zero. So basically all four, they start with 0.0 something or 0.1. That is perfect. Let's have a look another numbers. Yeah, the accumulation of the particulate matter is very low because I just had a DPF regen recently, 10 kilometers ago. So basically when I turned the car on, the DPF light was still on, like DPF malfunction or soot accumulation too high. You don't need to worry if that is on after. Obviously, if the carbon cleaning is done and you know for the fact that the camshaft is not worn, I'll tell you what you need to do. So basically with your scan tool, you go back and go to the special functions and the reset data, and then once you just turn on the ignition, make sure, as I said before, all those things are done. So the carbon cleaning, the camshaft is replaced if it was worn, and then you can do the DPF reset. Basically that's resets the data, and then you'll need to take the car for a test drive and drive it because initially that icon, the engine icon, will have the blue background as the AC icon, but it will trigger at some point of the drive a DPF region. You need to make sure that is done, and basically the DPF cleans itself, and that light obviously shouldn't come back on again. And now let me get out of the car and tell you about the injector reset. Basically it is the same. So you reset the injectors here with this button on the scan tool, and then you need to get the engine to operating temperature, so over 70 degrees of engine oil, and basically you need to short like a pin in the fuse box to the negative terminal of the battery 5 times, like rapidly, and then it will start to do the the injector relearn, the pilot relearn, basically the glow plug light, so a coil light will come on to the dash, it will stay on, and then the RPM will go up, down, it adjusts itself, and then when it is successfully done, that light, the coil light, the glow plug light will flash 5 times. That means it is successfully done. If you after that or during that receive a warning light on the dashboard, like some kind of warning light, definitely a fault code will be stored as well. That means, guys, that something is still wrong with the car. Either the injectors are faulty, or you have like an airflow issue or some sort of another problem. And now let me rev the car a little bit longer and check the oil pressure at higher oil temps, because I want to make sure when I give the car back to the customer, it is working properly as it should. So guys, basically that was it in this video. As I said in the beginning, low miles doesn't always mean no problems or problems free, or everything is okay with the car. And also, if it has a dealer service history, that doesn't necessarily mean everything was done properly as it should have been. But yeah, other than that, thank you very much for watching, and see you guys in the very next video. Until then, take care and bye bye.